You're watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.
Let's start with the good news. The Toronto Maple Leafs won their first game of the second round. And that's where all the good news ends with the Toronto Blue Jays. Keegan, let's focus on that good news. As we've mentioned here before, they've got the Blue Jays have the perfect buffer, and that is the Toronto Maple Leafs. Figure it out. This is the time to figure it out.
It's messy. When you said let's start with the good news, I didn't know where you were going. You left the sport of baseball entirely, so that makes sense.
They made it to Anaheim safely. There's another piece of good news.
That's it. But you're right. The Jays right now are Leafs fans, I think, because I always think, Dan, in my job every year, the day the Leafs get eliminated, which is normally right around now, end of round one type of deal, the next morning, I have 50 texts from radio producers, TV producers saying, hey, we'd love to catch up on where the Jays are. So I know that the city really turns its attention immediately to baseball because basketball is typically over by now. And if that were to happen today, which thankfully it's not, they would not see a thriving baseball team. Man, this is not when you want a country turning its head to you at this point. No. Ideally, if you're the Jays, you get back to 500 in a week. By the time the Leafs choke out of this, they're happier. But this ain't it right now. And the way the Jays are losing has been pretty worrying lately.
Well, we'll talk about the Jays in depth in a second. Speaking of getting to Anaheim, how do the Jays travel? They aren't on a WestJet flight. Do they have their own standalone plane, or do they charter a plane every single time they take one?
They do. It's the same one every time. Now, I'm not sure if this plane also does other stuff in between, probably, but I believe they're an Air Canada people at this point. Maybe I'm messing up a sponsorship and somebody from corporate sponsorships is going to kick my knee out next time I'm at the stadium, but I think it's an AC jet, but it's their own charter that they do take. Way back in the day, writers would be on that charter, which to me sounds both wild and terrible. I cannot imagine going to a road series on the West Coast, writing about how bad the team is for 3 days, and then as the players board the charter home, I'm in 3A sipping a Modelo. I don't think that would go very well. It's a different world. But they travel well. They stay well, and man, yeah, it's same jet they've got every time. I think they have like some of the same staff as well, so that's the perks of being in the bigs. I always love when a player comes up from AAA, man, and just like hearing their experience on that first road trip, like wide-eyed. A lot of guys ask who their roommate's going to be in the first road trip, and the travel guys are just like, dude, no, this is the big leagues.
Yeah. What's the percentage of teams that actually have their own plane? It's a smaller number than I think people think it is.
Yeah, probably would be. I think a lot of teams do what the Blue Jays do, where they have a regular jet they fly. It might not be, the Dallas Cowboys logoed just for them type of jet. And depends on the team you are too, man. Like if you are living life in the AL Central, where a lot of your trips are quick, jumping a couple hours away, that's one thing. But if you are the Mariners, for example, like I would struggle to cover the Mariners or a West Coast team that's making long flights all the time, changing time zones. Because that's what gets you, man. It's why I don't love the West Coast. Partly my East Coast bias. But those time changes, they'll get you. So it's important to travel nicely as they do.
Keegan, I don't think you'd last very long covering a team in the WHL.
No.
Prince George, I think Prince George's closest opponent is like 7 hours away. And that's all bus.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
All in the snow, all in December. No.
Yeah.
I'm out.
That's what they do in the minors. It's all bussing. Okay, let's get back to these Jays. They go into Anaheim. I'm looking at this. I'm like, here, this is perfect. This is a team ripe, ready to pad the numbers, because before this game, the Angels had won like one of their last 10, and then they go in, and it seems to be the thing that occurs a lot this season. The opposing team has that one big inning.
And they hit for power. The Angels outslugged them. And where this really gets worrying, Dan, it's one game of 162. Sure, they all count. But what worries me is how it happened with the bullpen at the back end. because you are seeing what I think is a bit of a tired Jimmy Garcia right now. And that's not a knock on Garcia. It's just the reality of how he's been used. You're supposed to be tired if you're pitching like he has been. And coming into the year, Dan, like Garcia on that deal he's on, 2 years, $15 million, like that is really good business. I think the Jays nailed that one, but you got to keep him fresh. Jimmy is, 34 or 35 now. That's deep into a career for a reliever. For him to still be able to throw 96, 98 is incredible. Like, he's a really gifted athlete. But I think he's much better as a guy who appears in 54 games instead of 64. And that line is so important because that's an extra appearance every week or two. And when you can't catch your breath, when your elbow and your shoulder are only bouncing back 90% of the way instead of 100% of the way, that's where this gets dangerous. At the same time, Dan, I don't think this is mismanagement by John Schneider or the staff. Like, they're not throwing him out in 10-1 games. It's just that every game is 3-2. Every game is 5-4. You gotta pitch him. And that's where this starts to get really challenging because you're doing the same to Jeff Hoffman, who has looked fantastic, but as he's being pitched more, he had a rough one against the Angels. So if the Jays get into a wonky bullpen situation, this can get ugly fast because you can handle a bad offense for a bit on defense and pitching alone. But if the bullpen starts coughing up a couple games at the back end of that because they're gassed, it gets ugly fast, and no losses feel worse than that. Like the late bullpen loss, it's ugly.
And the pitchers, they're like, why are you guys focusing on us? We need runs.
Yeah.
We need home runs, and that's where the Jays are lacking. They're near the bottom of the league in home runs.
Near the bottom of the league in homers hit, and near the most allowed, which is not good.
No.
And that's why this team's so confusing, Dan. If you had told me going into the season on May 7th, May 8th, that the Blue Jays would have the fewest home runs hit and almost the most allowed, I'd say, okay, they're going to be like 8-23. Like, I'm already out in the season. It's kind of amazing that they're even close to 500 right now when you look at that one number, that massive discrepancy in home runs. Because even if they were towards the middle of the league in home runs hit, that's probably 10 or 12 more homers, which is 3, 4, 5 more wins with all these tight games. So it's a confusing team. It's a strange team so far that it's hard to get a handle on them. But what I do know is that every one of these problems comes back to offense. Mm-hmm. The relievers, even when Jimmy Garcia has a rough one, when Jeff Hoffman has a rough one, yeah, you'd love to see it not happen, but I'm not blaming it on them. They continue to pitch constant innings because the offense can't put a game to bed. What the Jays need is a 10-1 game where Eric Lauer comes into the 6th and just cleans up the mess. And everyone in the bullpen kicks back, has a beer, has a quiet night. They desperately need that.
So the focus is going to turn to one man, and that became apparent last night when I was talking to my mom, Sandra O'Toole. And when Sandra brings up in conversation about her Blue Jays, I really expected big things from that guy who's supposed to help them, the hitting coach. She's like, yeah, what's wrong there? Keegan, answer that.
Well, Sandra, this is the hard-hitting questions. But it's amazing how quickly a narrative changes as well, too. You know, a week into the season, Andres Jimenez is hitting home runs, and I have never seen a hitting coach's face and name spread across broadcast and stories as much as I have. And to an extent, understandably so, because the Blue Jays did have some encouraging steps early, and in spring training looked incredible as an offense. I know it's only spring training, but if it's going to happen for 6 weeks, it needs to matter for something. They looked really good offensively. Everyone was hitting. And that's gone away. And this gets to the battle between, is it something from the top down in terms of philosophy, which I would call more of a front office thing? Is it coaching and a more, minute information issue? Or is it just the players? And finding out where that problem lies is tricky. And probably something that you figure out a little deeper into the season. But what the Blue Jays need to get to is that power, which is what David Popkins spoke about a lot coming into the year. It's about finding the opportunity and sometimes earning the opportunity to just let it rip, getting yourself in that 3-1 count so you can let it rip. George Springer is the example of this. And I can't believe I'm saying that on May 7th because I covered him last year and I covered him in spring training. None of it was good. I'm so impressed by George Springer. And he is the exact example. Again, this is stunning me that I'm saying this. He's the example of what everyone needs to be doing in this lineup, which is setting yourself up well, knowing your strengths, and finding the right place to take a shot. It's what he's doing right now. It's the best he's ever looked with the Blue Jays. But when you look at, I think, Dan, like Bo Bichette, Vladdy lately are some good examples where they're taking swings that just don't look like them. Vladdy's had a couple of those lately on those outside sliders. That's when you know Vladdy's a bit off. When he's taking that swing that's not even a swing at an outside slider, just kind of whipping the hands through the zone, his body doesn't even move. That's when he's off. That's when he's looking for something that's not there. And that's partly players, partly coaching, but it just hasn't looked right lately. And no one else really looks like George Springer looks right now, which is a strange place to be. There's so much talent. I know we've said it for 3 years, but they're way too talented to be doing what they're doing right now.
You know what it is with Springer? It's the Crocs.
There we go. I like it.
Doesn't he? I think I saw a story on him. He has like 50 pairs of Crocs. Crocs are his thing.
The footwear in that clubhouse is wild. Also, the lack of footwear. Chris Bassett and Bowden Francis, two good examples. They will walk out into industrial hallways to do media with us in road stadiums, just completely barefoot. They're braver men than I.
Maybe they want to be in touch with the earth, but when you're standing on concrete, I guess
it's a little tough.
That is a little tough. Mike Trout did not play last night for the Angels. And he did, how many games did he play last year? He did not play a lot of games last year. I think it's safe to say the prime years of Mike Trout are over. Are we nearing the end of Mike Trout's career?
It's tough. Just as I look at these numbers now, 82 games 2 years ago, 29 last year. He's up to 29 so far here now. Going back to his prime, 17, 18, 19, when he's winning MVPs, like a one-of-one baseball player. And it's strange. We almost talk about him now like he's 45. Yeah. Like he's hanging on, like he at the end. He's still 33. And I don't know what the solution is. And this is, I'm not just not a doctor, I'm the opposite of a doctor. But when I see players who are built so impressively like he is, George Springer's kind of an example of this the last few years. These guys who are built 6'2", 6'3", like a linebacker, sometimes they wear down physically a little quicker than someone who's built more like a Francisco Lindor, that type of player who's a little smaller, a little more bounce to them. But you've seen Mike Trout wear down like an athlete who's playing a full contact sport, is the best way to say it. And it's tragic, man, because everyone who's followed baseball knows that his prime years were, whatever the kinder word is for wasted, on Angels teams that didn't go anywhere. And
playing on the West Coast, no one in the East ever saw him.
No one in the East. It would be a genuine baseball tragedy if we get through his whole career and we don't get to see primetime playoff Mike Trout for a couple of years. It's as much as I love a player who strings out their career with one organization. I'd love to see him end up somewhere else, get healthy, split some DH time. I don't know what it's going to take, but have those moments. He's a player who deserves to be in those moments, because when we look back on Mike Trout's career, hopefully a decade from now, maybe a few years from now, I don't know, you're going to talk about moments, like big moments that they had. What were the big Mike Trout moments? I don't have many in my head. There were a lot of incredible seasons, and a brilliant baseball player, by all accounts, has been a good rep for the Angels, for baseball, good person in the clubhouse. But just what are those moments? What's that playoff series winning walk-off? Where is that big moment? I don't know. And I hope he gets healthy, man, but it's that body is just not agreeing with him lately.
And he probably watched Shohei with the Dodgers and just was watching from afar saying, that could have been me. Obviously, he doesn't pitch, but on the defensive side and the offensive side of the baseball, that could have been him.
It's close, man. Even that WBC last at bat, Ohtani Trout, like That was close, but man, I hope he gets a shot. If that can happen with the Angels, cool. Is it going to happen with the Angels? Probably not. I don't know if they're going to be a World Series contender these next few years. But man, maybe he's the next guy in the Dodgers somehow, some way. Everyone ends up there.
He does have a career after golf because the Tiger Woods Mike Trout golf course, Trout National, is finished, and I believe it's now open.
Two healthy guys combining their powers. There's a lot of benches on that golf course, I think.
Hey, everyone loves a good bench, as long as it's strategically placed, because I don't know how much you play golf, but to some of these courses, the bench placement is an afterthought. And there's nothing like a good bench anywhere in life.
I was always a big cart guy growing up golfing, you know? I was lazy from the jump. Lazy.
Yeah. Well, Keegan, we appreciate this. The further the Blue Jays go, the further the Leafs go, the happier the Blue Jays will be as they figure this out. And it's not too late. They're still in the thick of it. But when is the cutoff for figuring it out? Because you do see teams with 2 months to go get hot, make the playoffs. That is a shot in the dark. Doesn't happen very often. But there has to be a date on the calendar where teams are like, if we aren't at least above 500 at this point, there's no hope.
Yeah, I always think of the Tigers last year, that stretch they went on, which nobody saw coming. I didn't see coming. I always kind of use the exact midseason, like July 1 Canada Day, because then you start to figure out who you're going to be at the trade deadline. Like a season to me is 100 games. Get to the trade deadline, because that's where you need to decide, and you essentially announce to baseball who you are. If you're trading off pieces, you're waving the white flag and saying, hey, we're not giving up, but we know we're not the Dodgers. Ain't our year. No problem. You got to know who you are by early July when you start making those phone calls. And we saw this with the 2015 and 16 teams. You don't need to be 90-10 at that break. You can be around 500, especially in an American League that looks weirdly average across the board. There's no runaway train in the AL or the AL East this year. But if the Jays can get around 500, this does not need to be a powerhouse by midseason. I know that's some lazy little brother thinking to a certain extent. The Yankees don't think like that, I know. But if they can stay around 500, really be aggressive at the deadline, it can still happen. But you got to get there. And even though it's a low bar, you got to clear that bar. Right now, they're not. Got a little time, couple months, but getting nervous.
Keegan, that's my philosophy in life. Set a low bar. It's easy to clear. And you just set one. 500 by July 1st for the Blue Jays. Yeah. Achievable. I like it.
Be an average team in a couple of months. Boy, oh boy. Hang the banner, baby. And in the meantime, go Leafs.
We were 500 on July 1st, 2025. That baby banner steps will be going up next year. Thanks, buddy.
You got it.
Thanks for watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.